Hey you guys, welcome to Inner Peace with Netta. I'm Netta, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk about mental health and being, just living, being on your spiritual journey. And this is something that I've been through personally. But I wanted to talk about mental health such as depression and anxiety and PTSD. So I feel like all of us in our own shape and form, we have experienced trauma. Everyone's trauma cannot be measured the same way. Some people have been through more traumatic experiences than other, but that does not make it any less painful or traumatic, period. We cannot measure each other's pain by how we deal with pain. I feel like in society we see that a lot. And I don't think that's really healthy because we all been dealt different cards in our life, and we just have to play our cards right. But your cards that you were dealt with is totally different from someone else's, so that whole comparison thing needs to be thrown out the window. A lot of people think that, they may have friends or maybe married someone who grew up in a family who were economically, had more money, or maybe was wealthy or just did better than maybe their spouse or their friends. And people feel like people who are wealthy don't go through problems, which is not true at all. Money doesn't make your problems go away. Okay, we need money. I always speak about this, like, it's not the money that is the issue. Money is energy. It's the humans. It's the problems. It's the people. Okay, and just because you were poor didn't make your problems go away, or doesn't mean that you didn't have problems. Like I always say this, your economic status doesn't mean anything when it comes to trauma or any problem or issue. Yes, statistically, when we start getting into politics, which I will not get into, they will say in a more impoverished community there's higher crime rates and things like that. But that's not always necessarily true either. But then I definitely understand where it is true. I can see both sides of the spectrum, okay? But I'm not here to break that down, because not everyone in the impoverished community has been through the same thing. No one person is alike. We should be judging everyone, or should be judging people, period. But, we judge naturally, or should I say when we judge righteously, and having that discernment, you have to, it's from a case by case, individual person, okay? A person individually in their integrity and their character. You can have two siblings coming from the same household and one acts totally different from the other one, okay? So I just feel like outside factors really don't make a difference. But moving forward, where we've all been through different things. People who are poor, middle class, and wealthy, or rich, whatever, have experienced depression, anxiety, PTSD, cancer, AIDS, HIV, COVID, SARS, Ebola, and everything. STDs, like, there's no one can hide from that, okay? So mental health does not discriminate. That's the word I was looking for. Nothing discriminates from people. You understand? I just feel like when we get sick, it's an internal thing. Okay? So you can be wealthy and be insecure as hell. Okay? And you can be confident and not have a whole lot of money. But then it's just so many aspects, and I could break that down in so many different ways. But when it comes to mental health does not discriminate. Okay? So, myself, I have suffered from depression. I've had panic attacks, had anxiety attacks, and felt like I've had a form of PTSD. I'm not going to sit here and say I have PTSD or I had it. I've had a therapist tell me I may have had PTSD at that time. But, and I may have, because when you have PTSD, you flashback. So, I definitely spoke about, having trauma in my childhood. But then I also had been sexually assaulted in my adulthood. Okay? Recently, last year. And then this whole COVID thing. So, to be honest, like, I'm still healing and, moving forward from it. I'm not where I was when everything first happened, and I'm definitely just taking that wound and turning it into wisdom and just leveling up and moving forward with it, because that's the only way that I can go. I can't use that as an excuse not to grow and not to move forward and not to pick myself up and just to continue on with my life. But with that traumatic experience, it really took a toll on my mental health. I was already, during that time, I was stressed out, being an entrepreneur, going through the emotional, highs and lows. And for me, that sexual assault just spiraled me down, because I really, really felt worthless. I felt inadequate. I was mad. I was mad at spirit. I just stopped trusting. I stopped trusting myself. I stopped trusting people around me. I stopped trusting spirit. It was just, but I kept saying, I gotta continue to make videos. I gotta continue to help people and things like that. But I was angry as hell, putting a smile on my face. And I really didn't want to talk about it, because I probably would have broke down crying, and I didn't like to be vulnerable, but I also didn't want to just be on YouTube or be on the internet just saying, yeah, well, this happened to me, because I didn't process it. During the whole assault, my whole coping and defenses, I couldn't even tell y'all what happened. I know what happened, but me fighting, it was just a traumatic experience, and I took the blame for it. And I had to work through therapy to understand that, I did the best that I could, and it wasn't my fault. And deep down, I know that it wasn't, but in my head, this is what I programmed myself, that, I will, I, during my time of healing my inner child from, my past traumas that I had, sexual traumas that I had, that, that, I would never, I would make sure I protect myself, you know, and I just felt like I was hurting my inner child again. I felt like I let myself down, and I had put these expectations on myself that I guess was really, not even I guess, was unrealistic. And in my mind, I just kept beating myself up and blaming myself. So that put me in a spiral of a deep, dark depression. And I was angry. I was angry. I wouldn't talk to nobody about it. Then when I was talking to people about it, it just felt like, oh, okay, you're strong. You'll be okay. And that just pissed me off and rocked my boat even more. But I had to ask myself, well, why would I expect empathy or compassion from other people when I couldn't even show it to myself? So it just left me in a deep, dark space. And it stagnated me, stagnated my growth. And when I would try to, not even try, when I would do things to get out of it, get out of that depression and that darkness, I would get a lot of resistance. And this is why I wanted to talk about mental health today, because I know what it's like to be in a depression. I know what it's like to want to commit suicide. Yes, your spiritual team is still there, your spirit guides is still there, and they're protecting you, but you got to remember that they're just not going to come out of the spiritual realm and just grab you and save you from yourself. You have to save yourself, okay? So I know that it is hard. It can be hard when you're in it, okay? But you have to get up out of it. Even with anxiety, having a panic attack. I understood what depression was, but then when I had a goddamn anxiety attack and having all these panic attacks, I was like, oh shoot, I cannot live like this. I can't. And I choose not to. Because I feel like those are one of the worst feelings ever, okay? To feel ungrounded, to feel like you are unsafe is the worst, okay? You are emotionally ungrounded. I know for myself, I was physically, emotionally, just spiritually, everything ungrounded. And it was to the point to where I was sitting, I had to sit, and I was ruminating in my thoughts. I didn't know what else to do but close my eyes and cry. And it became even worse and worse and worse. And I was just trying to, my problem was I was trying to suppress everything as if it didn't happen when it did. And I was trying to pretend, it didn't happen. I was trying to pretend like, okay, everything is going to be okay. And that stunted my growth, Yes, I know about the law of attraction and things like that and universal laws. But it does not tell you to suppress and repress your emotions. And I picked up a coping mechanism that I used to have and did it again. And that was where the anger came in, because I suppressed and repressed in my childhood. Then having new tools and going through something traumatic again, I did the same thing. But then I pulled myself up out of it and went to therapy and did whatever I had to do. As far as legally and whatever. So, with that, I was in a deep dark hole because I kept replaying it in my mind. I kept going back to it and trying to change the whole story. I was trying to fight back even more and just fight back to the end. And that time is gone. There's nothing, I had to learn that. There's nothing that I can do now to change it. That's something I will never forget. But that is not a memory that I have to go back to and replay it in my mind. Like, even when I'm speaking about it now, I'm not replaying it in my mind. I can just talk about it. You understand? So I don't have to rewind it. I can delete it, but I still know that it happened. So I know with depression, we ruminate in our thoughts. We're looking at the past like your past is hindering your present and your future. And then having an anxiety tag, you're trying to figure out what is the future going to be. So I just felt like this whole year for me has been a shit show, to be honest, to a certain extent. Well, not a shit show. Let me rephrase that. It's been a good year because I have done a lot of things, a lot of good things, but and met a lot of good people. But as far as emotionally for me, and just being grounded, and I felt like crap. I felt like crap, and going through these healing pains and these growing pains and having to grow up and emotionally mature out of it, because I cannot take that story with me because I refuse to. Just like I had to heal my past, and my past story does not make me and will not go with me in my future. I don't care if it happened just at the end of last year, and like this month makes it a year. I cannot take that with me. And I'm like literally just figuring that out, that this month made it a year, because I'm just choosing not to even go back to it. But yes, this month actually makes it a year. And I definitely see signs from my spirit. It's just like, you're going to have to release that, because you're going to continue to attract. If I hold on to this story, and first, I'm not taking control of my life. Second, I'm not owning my power. And when you're in depression and you're in the thick of it, or you're having an anxiety attack and you're in the thick of it, you feel like shit. And you don't want to think about anything but just getting back to yourself. So I'm going to give y'all some tips, okay? Because I know what it's like to punch my freaking hand through glass. I know what it's like to kick a freaking wall in. I know what it's like to scream at the top of my freaking lungs and feel like I'm losing my freaking mind. I know what it feels like to just want to die in that moment. I know what it's like to feel suicidal. I know what it's like to feel like you hate yourself, or you hate the person who harmed you. I know what it feels like when you feel like you're not going to get up out of it. But I'm here to tell you that this too shall pass, and you will get up out of it. But you have to find healthy coping skills. Mine was food. Anytime I felt a negative emotion, and I got that from childhood, sugar, or just food, period. and just stuff it in my mouth. When emotions was coming up throughout my throat, lumping, and it was something that I was just trying to suppress because I didn't want to deal with it, I would put food in my mouth, or I would avoid it. And that set me off into depression. I had to realize, okay, I'm meant to be where I am, and this is happening for a reason, right? Because your spirit wants you to get up out of it, but you have to learn there's something in your anger, in your resentment, in your depression, in your anxiety trying to teach you something. And for me, it was to own my power and to believe in myself and to take care of myself and stop feeling guilt and shame and to be myself. A lot of us is suppressing and repressing our true self and our authentic self, and we are living in an internal hell. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to live that way at all. You can do and be whoever you want to be that is true for you. When you try to pretend to be something that you're not, and you're living up under someone or this ideology of you having to be something else, you are killing that music that's within you. You are killing your soul. That's why we have these dark times and go through these sufferings. But when we stay in them, that's our choice. When we go through these sufferings, and I had to learn, like, you're suffering, because I used to be like, well, we don't have to suffer. And I do feel like, yes, some of the suffering is a choice when we finally understand what the issue is, and then if we don't do nothing about it and we stay in it, then that's your choice to suffer, right? And so I had to choose to do something about it and get me help. I had to learn mindfulness, because the mind is a very strong muscle, and you have to reinforce. You have to have positive reinforcement. So I do mirror work, and what we say to ourselves is very crucial. How you talk to yourself. You have to talk to yourself with confidence and respect. You have to love yourself. You have to have self-care. Okay? Because when you're in that depression, you're not talking to yourself good. You hearing everybody else's voice, maybe from your past, whoever influenced you, whoever raised you. You're thinking about the worst thing that somebody could have said about you or said to you, which had nothing to do with you, had everything to do with them. But then now when you're getting triggered, it's just like every damn negative thing, you become your own worst critic, and you have to be your number one fan. You got to be your number one cheerleader. But you also need support. So I would always tell you, get a therapist. Yes, your spiritual team is still there. Pray. Everything. Ask them. Talk out loud. Whatever you need to do. But don't harm yourself. Because I went through a space of harming myself. Punching glass. Just breaking stuff. Breaking glass. Going through this turmoil, just hurting myself, harming myself physically, to the point to where I was in so much pain. So I had to learn mindfulness, then started to do yoga, and sometimes I still get triggered, but I say to myself now, I'd rather punch a pillow, or I'd rather just breathe. I have to stop. And then I have to ask myself, why am I being triggered? And is it worth me reacting? Because when you start to react, there's that resistance, especially when you have new tools. The only thing you got to do is just stop. And I would say your name. Just say your full name like 3 times. Right? Just say your name. Even if you gotta sit and cry. And I did a pranayama video. Just breathe. Just go back to your breath. Because your mind is trying to play tricks on you. Because remember, you're in the present, you're not in the past, and you're not in the future. Everything is now. Make sure you get in your sleep. Make sure you get at least 8 hours. I have a list. Create a mantra. When I was feeling like I was getting triggered and stuff, I had to make a mantra. And mine was, I got this. I got this. I got this. Breathing and shaking, just shaking my leg. I'm showing you. I'm shaking my leg, right? My body shaking. And I'm like, I got this. I got this. I don't care if I had tears in my eyes. I got this. And just saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. When you say you love yourself, it raises your vibration. Just say, I love you, I love you. I don't care if you don't even mean it. Just say it. I love you, 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 I love you. Okay? Contact someone that you can trust. Only someone you can trust, and that will support you. Once you get yourself a little more grounded, meditate or visualize. Visualize yourself at one of your favorite places. Or maybe somewhere you want to go on vacation. Something on your bucket list. Just visualize and meditate. Or even meditate or visualize something funny. Maybe it's a scene from like Martin or something. Something funny. Something funny. On your favorite movie. You gotta be tender and compassionate and empathetic with yourself. Okay? Because it's a process. It's a process. Turn on some music. Turn on some music that will soothe your soul. Turn on some music that will get you dancing. And laugh. I don't care if you are crying a river. You gonna have to laugh like Joker. You gonna look like the Joker for a minute. When you just and you start laughing, laugh. Just get that energy moving. Get that dopamine and all that moving. Just laugh. And just make it contagious. Just laugh. And another one I learned from Willow Smith, right? Because she is very open about her anxiety. Start doing push-ups. I don't care where you at. This is your mental health. Okay? If the first thought in your mind is, I feel uncomfortable, okay, so maybe you're a little more grounded to, if you need to do push-ups, if you could do a push-up, maybe do a jumping jack. Just do it to get yourself grounded and out your mind and back into your body. Do this. Clap your hands. Get you grounded. Whatever you have to do, right? Excuse me, I know. Me extra. But just do whatever you have to do to get you grounded so that it don't trigger. And I always tell y'all, right, when you having like these little episodes or you getting these triggers, write it out. Okay? Do not get no drugs or no alcohol to suppress it and repress it. Because that's only going to make it worse. And you're being codependent and you're using that as a therapy instead of doing the real inner work. Don't use no food, sex, violence, no nothing. Don't harm yourself, no nothing. Okay? Honor your needs. Maybe you got triggered because you wasn't honoring your needs. Honor your needs. I said before, practice mindfulness. And I've learned this. Maybe we've been asking for an answer for a long time and we getting this inkling, that inner knowing, and then when we don't take action on it, but we're, oh, I need clarity. No. Until you take that action, you won't get clarity. And sometimes that action will be something that you feel like, this does not make sense, but I'm telling you to listen to your spirit. Just take that action. And that's what life is about. Is taking action. I think that we be so goddamn scared of life, and life is not against us, it's for us, and life wants us to play, that we end up going into depression or anxiety because we're like, I don't know. Just do something. Just do something so that you can have that clarity. And that's it. And just know that you can heal. For people who have PTSD, it's the same thing to me as like depression, because you're in the past, but you start having flashbacks, and I feel like the PTSD, that trigger is like on another. But you can use these tools, because if you feel it coming on, just breathe. Like I said, I have the pranayama video. You can do the Kalabati breath if you're not pregnant, or if you don't have eye issues or high blood pressure. Or just breathe, Ujjayi breath. Right? Or either, like I said, clap your hands. Clap your hands. Do jumping jacks, push-ups, or either say a mantra. I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. Let me tell you something. If you got to scream to the top of your lungs to get it out your mind for that moment, do it. Especially if you feel like you're about to like really snap, just scream. And stop, sit, stand, and breathe. I'm really big on like whatever you gotta do to cope. It does not matter if it makes other people uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about so that you don't escalate to anything violent or harming yourself or harming anyone else, right? If you gotta scream or do jump jacks in the middle of the goddamn street, then that's what you do. Don't worry about anyone else, because you gotta take care of you. So I've been meaning to make this video for a minute, but yeah, I just want you to know that I truly do understand. I may not understand everyone's mental health issues and things like that, but I am open and flexible to understand. We go through stuff, but you are meant for so much more, and not to be stuck in anxiety and depression. That's because we giving a fuck about too much of what other people think. Stop giving your power away, because that's the main thing. Don't give your power away to no damn depression or anxiety or any. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the light ones, like depression, anxiety, and even to me, PTSD. I feel like all these things can be cured, but not gonna go there. But other extreme mental health issues, I definitely understand. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these three. Don't let it take you over. Don't let it take you over. Because when you go to your therapist and you speak about stuff, especially with depression, you're talking about the past. You got to know your worth and your value. And anxiety, you worried about the future. Oh, I want it to look like this. Why do you have so much expectation? That means you're separated. When we in depression and anxiety, we are separated from our spirit. That's separation. So, and our spirit just wants us, our soul just wants us back. So that it could just bask us in the love and the light and get us out that darkness. So, this is the video for today. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Peace.